What's up, guys? I'm sorry it took an extra week to make this video. This last week was one of those weeks that just come out of nowhere and are soul crushing because something you can't control comes out of left field and just knocks you off axis. Not professionally. I'm very happy where things are in my professional life. But one of those things you can't control, and the people that can control it don't care at all about your situation. So anyways, why am I bringing that up? Because there's two ways you can handle situations like this in life. You can either sit there and dwell on them and say, why is this happening to me? It's unfair, it's unjust. Or you can use it as fuel to fuel your fire in a direction that is constructive. Use it to motivate you to shut these people up and to make them realize that you are somebody. That you are somebody. You're not a faceless number in a system that doesn't care. You are a person, and a person who is going to make it and break through. It also brings me back to what I say at the end of these videos. It's easy to feel isolated and alone in life, but if we all work together, not only will it make you a better feeling person, but we can all stand on each other's accomplishments and we can all help each other out. And we can get to where we want to be faster than we can by ourselves. That's basically, all I have to say about that. But today we are going to talk about the Rode Wireless Go. Kind of a rant here at the beginning of the video. You don't normally see that, but I wanted to get to the Rode Wireless Go and see if I think it's for professionals, consumers, and roll that bumper. I finally received my Rode Wireless Go after waiting about 3 months with it being on back order. Look how small this thing is compared to my hand. So tiny, both of them. Both receivers put together are still well smaller than my hand. That's amazing. Now, from what I can tell, the only difference between the ones that were shipped out originally and these ones is this windsock has been modified a little bit so it fits on the built-in microphone a little bit better and doesn't fly off like the other one did with the least amount of touching. So that's good, I guess. This will stay on a little bit firmer. Now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at this little unit. And again, I do mean little. It is amazing how small these are. Other wireless receivers and transmitters I've used are about the size of a walkie-talkie. And so I'll show you here now the size of a walkie-talkie next to one of these bad boys. It's amazing the difference in size. So you may be asking yourself, what's the advantage of having such a small unit? For one, it's just really easy to carry these things around. You can basically hide them anywhere in your camera bag. For two, it's easy to hide on your talent. You don't have a big bulging pack that you have to hide from the camera. But now the big question is, how much did they pack into this tiny little package? Because nobody will care about the size of this thing if it doesn't work well. So let's turn these little guys on and start messing with them. So to turn them on, it's very simple. You just press and hold this little Rode button for 3 seconds. On this one, you wait until you see the blue lights light up. And on the receiver, you push the same little logo and you wait for the screen to light up after 3 seconds. The cool thing is once you turn these guys on, basically they're already paired together, which is really awesome. You just turn them on, you're ready to go. But just in case something went wrong in that process and they didn't pair together, there is a pairing button so you can have it search for its partner. So if they're linked up correctly, you'll see these two little icons on the top of this little receiver. One of them says RX, and that's for the receiver, obviously. The other says TX for transmitter, and it'll give you the battery life of each of the systems. From my experience, I've been able to use them for about 7 hours without any issue. The battery gets a little lower, but I've never run out of juice, and that's the longest I've used them. Now, when the battery inevitably does die, there's a USB-C on both the transmitter and the receiver for charging purposes. And according to Rode, it takes about 2 hours to charge them back up fully. Now, if you look at the transmitter, there's two lights here. One of them is a pairing light. It'll tell you whether or not you are paired to the other system. And the other one is a battery indicator. And this is how the battery indicator works. If it's solid blue, it means your battery is above 20%. If it's slowly blinking, it means it's below 20%. If it's blinking quickly, it means it's below 10%. You should probably charge your unit. Now, when you are charging it, it'll double blink to let you know that the charging is charging successfully. Now for the pairing blue light, if it's lit up blue, it means it has a good connection. If it's blinking, that means it doesn't have a connection. And if it's blinking rapidly, that means it's pairing to the receiver. Now I know that's a lot of blinking lights to remember, but most of this is on the receiver's little LCD screen anyways. Also on the transmitter pack is a built-in microphone, so you don't even have to have your own lavalier microphone. But if you do have your own lavalier, you can put it right here into this input jack. It's a standard TRS jack. So now let's move over to the receiver. Again, it has an on-off button with the Rode logo on it. It also has a decibel button and a pairing button. The way the pairing button works is you first hold down the pairing button for about 3 seconds until the signal strength on the screen starts flashing. Then single press the pair button on the transmitter and you're all done. That easy. And for the decibel button, it's just a toggle between 0 decibels, -6, and -12 decibels. Moving right along, there's a little port for a TRS plug to plug it straight into your camera or into your recorder, and the aforementioned USB-C port. Now when you look at the screen, the top of the screen has both battery indicators, and then in the middle, it has your audio level. The bottom both has the decibel level and whether you're connected or not to the other receiver. Another feature easy to overlook is a little clip on the back of these modules. These are perfectly sized to fit into the cold shoe mount of your camera. Rode is always thinking about the little things, I'm telling you. Alright, so this takes care of the little nuts and bolts of this system, but let's take it out and take it for a test drive and see how it holds up. I'm going to test it in multiple different lavalier setups, as well as testing other mobile audio setups to see how it stacks up. The lavalier mic I'm using is called the Rode SmartLav Plus, but usually I forget the plus and I just call it a SmartLav, but it is the SmartLav Plus. Now one thing is, the SmartLav Plus is mainly made for cell phones, so I need this little adapter. It's a TRS to TRRS adapter. It's the Rode SC3 adapter, and that way I can use it with this system. Another adapter I'm going to use is the Rode VXLR. This way I can adapt it and use it on my Tascam audio recorder. So let's see how it all stacks up. You may want to put on headphones for this part, as it's easier to hear the differences between the audio. Right now we're hearing audio for the first time coming from the Wireless Go system. There's no microphone plugged in. I'm using the built-in microphone that comes with this system. Again, we're using the Wireless Go system plugged into the GH5, but this time we're using an actual lavalier microphone, which again is the Rode SmartLav. So right now the audio you're hearing is coming out of this microphone, which is the Rode SmartLav, which traditionally is meant to be plugged into a cell phone, which is how I have it now. I don't have an iPhone, I have an Android phone, but on iOS you can actually use the Rode app to record your audio. Me being an Android user, I like using an app called RecForge 2, which is a good way to record your audio on Android. This is the Rode SmartLav plugged into the Rode Wireless Go, plugged into my Tascam DR70, which is my audio recorder I use for all my audio with the boom mic. Now the audio you are hearing is again coming from the Wireless Go system plugged into my audio recorder, but there's no microphone plugged in, meaning I'm using the built-in microphone that is already on the Rode Wireless Go system. So I've walked the camera right up into my face, and I gotta be honest, this is kind of intimidating. It's right just about arm's reach away from me. Very intimate, very in your face. I like you guys, but kind of give me some space here. The reason I've pulled you guys in so close is this is the best possible scenario for the on-camera audio. This is as good as it's gonna get because I'm pretty close to the camera. And it still sucks, right? Right? That's all I wanted to prove here. Now I'm gonna plug the lavalier mic straight into the camera, see what that sounds like. And ideally, I would have a longer cord on this lavalier mic, but yeah, I have it plugged straight into the camera. This is the audio you can get out of it. Usually the microphone will be more like down here than right here. So yeah, this is what it would sound like if I plugged the mic straight into the camera. And while we're still way too close, this time I am using my cell phone as my audio source with no microphone plugged into it, just to show you that there is ways around it. I'm curious to see if this audio is better than the camera audio. So from those tests, there's no real surprises. Everything performed right about where I thought it would. The best audio by far is obviously coming from my boom mic, but that's not a fair comparison, so let's take that out of the competition. The best audio seemed to come when I had an external lav plugged into the Rode system. It's a slightly cleaner recording coming from the recorder, less sibilance than the preamps of the GH5. But I was still pretty happy with the audio I got when I plugged it directly into my camera. I wouldn't use it in controlled settings like this where it's easy to get the microphone exactly where you need it, but if I was in run and gun scenarios, it wouldn't be weighing on my mind if I plugged it straight into the camera. I think it sounded alright. The built-in microphone of the system is pretty muddy if you ask me. Not really something I would use unless I really had to. It is usable audio, but I would have to clean it up a little more in post-production. So basically the rules of thumb I got from this comparison is using my lavalier is better than the built-in microphone in every scenario, and recording on the recorder is better than the preamps on a GH5. The one thing that did surprise me was how good the audio was when I plugged it straight into my smartphone. I guess this really shouldn't surprise me as this particular lavalier microphone was made for cell phones, but for some reason I thought it was going to be better with the recordings and everything, and it was pretty close with the cell phone. And now that I think about it, maybe all the adapters I was using to adapt to different systems might have brought the audio level down a little more. I'm going to have to look into getting a dedicated lavalier mic that's meant for systems like this. Also, when I plugged the mic straight into the camera itself, it was better than not having it, but it still wasn't very good, and the cable wasn't nearly long enough, so I kept feeling like the lavalier mic was pulling me into the camera. Now, when it came to the on-camera audio of my GH5 or the cell phone audio, it's kind of pick your poison at this point. Neither audio I'd really want to use in any kind of scenario. The camera audio picks up everything around your environment and has a very tinny kind of sound to it, while the cell phone has weird little digital artifacts in it, especially in the S's, and weird little sibilance artifacts that weren't fun to listen to at all. But hey, if that's all you have, sometimes you gotta make it work, and maybe you can clean it up in post-production. Okay, so now we come to the distance test, and this did not go very well, I'm going to tell you out of the gate. Rode claims it has a reliable signal up to 70 meters away as long as you keep line of sight. Line of sight again meaning there's nothing in between the transmitter and the receiver. So again, I went out to the old gridiron of a high school football field just so I can easily see how many yards away everything was. I tested things in various ways. I tested all 3 gain channels, and I tested it both with the recorder and with the camera. But for the most part, all the tests came back pretty much the same. The best results I got were when I had it on medium output. It might have just been an aberration, but it was reliable up to 35 yards away as long as there was line of sight. 35 yards away. Can you hear me at 40 yards away? Can you still hear me at 40? Let me see what... If you don't have line of sight, problems arise already from 10 yards away. That's not very far. If I just turn around, the audio is not going to be steady at all. We are 10 yards away. See if you can hear me at 10 yards. And from 25 yards away with no line of sight, it's unusable. There's no connection whatsoever. 25 yards away. For 90% of my testing, even with line of sight, at 25 yards, there was no reliability in the system at all. That's only 22.86 meters. We are 25 yards back with an airplane going overhead. I was sporadically able to get connections from as far away as 110 yards, but from 25 meters to 110 yards, if I moved at all, it would cut out. It just was not reliable at all from any sort of distance. That being said, I haven't had any issues with reliability in settings like this for talking head videos or interviewing videos, and it would probably be very handy for vloggers as well. So besides that, the only other problems I really have with it is the fact that you can't lock your lavalier. So when your actor's doing blocking, it might be easy for the lavalier to become unplugged. So what do I think about the Rode Wireless Go? First off, it's only $200. And that takes away a lot of the problems for this because I can't find anything else to run lavalier mics wirelessly at this price point. I wouldn't call this a system for professionals though. It's just too unreliable for me to take it on a professional set. I can't take it on a professional set if I can't trust it. That being said, I don't really think they made this for professionals. I think this is a great consumer, prosumer lavalier system for vloggers or talking heads or just anybody looking to get into lavalier microphones. Now another thing, I hope this is just an issue with my units only. I've contacted Rode, but they have neglected to get back to me, so I really can't tell for sure. So that's my opinion on the Rode Wireless Go. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me to the end of this video. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button over there. If you like what I do here, or just like filmmaking tutorials, hit the subscribe bell or hit that bell to be notified when I make a new video. If you have any questions about this system, or you have a topic you'd like to see me make a video on, hit me up in the description. And remember guys, this isn't just an outro line. It's not a competition. Let's all rise in this business together. I'll see you next time.